Hello fellow gardeners, and welcome back to Smart Garden. Today we're exploring something that might completely change the way you think about your pepper plants. Are your pepper plants giving up too soon, leaving you with less harvest than you hoped for? What if you could not only get a second massive flush of peppers, but also transform your garden soil into a living, microbe-rich powerhouse at the same time? We're revealing the counterintuitive pruning secret that makes it all possible. Most gardeners view pruning as simply a maintenance task, something to tidy up the plant or control its size. However, strategic pruning actually amplifies your pepper harvest far beyond what a single flush can deliver. When executed at precisely the right moments, those cuts trigger a biological response that pushes your plants into regeneration mode, setting the stage for a robust second fruiting cycle that can rival or even exceed your initial harvest. What's truly fascinating is the hidden connection between those above-ground cuts and the underground soil health that's happening beneath your feet. Every pruning decision sends signals throughout the plant's entire system, fundamentally altering where energy flows and how resources are allocated. The revelation that transforms this from simple cutting to sophisticated soil building is this: your pruning directly feeds your soil by redirecting carbohydrates to root, exudates that become a feast for beneficial microorganisms. This isn't just plant care anymore, it's ecosystem engineering right in your backyard. Understanding where, why, and when to make those precise cuts determines whether you're merely trimming or actually orchestrating a second harvest. During the establishment phase, when your pepper seedling reaches about 6 to 8 inches tall with at least 3 to 4 sets of true leaves, make your first strategic move by topping the main stem just above a leaf node. This single cut redirects growth hormones away from vertical growth and into lateral branch development, creating a bushier plant with multiple flowering sites instead of a single spindly stem. The magic isn't just in creating more branches above ground. Pruning redirects energy downward to the roots in ways that most gardeners never witness. When you remove that growing tip or pluck those early flowers, the plant immediately begins pumping sugars and carbohydrates into root expansion rather than fruit production. Those roots don't just sit passively in the soil, they actively exude compounds, primarily sugars and amino acids that act as signals and food sources for the vast microbial community surrounding them. Think of it as your plant literally feeding the soil life that will, in turn, feed your plant throughout its entire life cycle. Visualizing these root exudates helps you understand the profound exchange occurring beneath the surface. Those sugars leaking from root tips attract beneficial bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi like a dinner bell, creating dense colonization zones where nutrients are traded, plant immunity is strengthened, and soil structure improves. The more extensive root system you develop through early pruning translates directly into a more vibrant underground ecosystem that persists long after harvest. The symbiotic relationship between roots, microbes, and nutrient cycling forms the foundation of truly regenerative gardening. When you prune strategically to enhance root development, you're not just growing a pepper plant, you're cultivating an entire community of beneficial organisms. Mycorrhizal fungi extend the effective reach of your plant's roots by hundreds of times, accessing phosphorus and other nutrients your plant could never reach alone. In exchange, the plant provides up to 30% of its photosynthesized sugars to these fungal partners. Here's where the spent plant strategy becomes genuinely transformative. After your late-season aggressive pruning and final harvest, don't pull those plants and toss them in the trash. Instead, utilize every bit of that pruned material as an immediate soil amendment right where it grew. Chop the stems, leaves, and even leave the roots in place if possible. This material, rich with both structural carbon and the microbial populations that already colonize the living plant, becomes an instant inoculation for your soil. The visible difference in soil structure and vitality after consistent application of this technique is remarkable. Soil that receives regular additions of fresh plant material develops a crumbly, aggregated structure that holds moisture, yet drains well. The carbon in those chopped stems feeds fungal networks that literally glue soil particles together, creating the kind of tilth that gardeners dream about. Meanwhile, the nitrogen in the green leaves feeds bacterial populations that cycle nutrients rapidly, making them available for your next crop. Timing is everything. Identifying the optimal window for post-harvest pruning separates those who get a second flush from those who, well, wonder why their plants declined. The sweet spot comes immediately after your main harvest concludes, But while your plants still have substantial energy reserves and at least 6 to 8 weeks of favorable growing weather ahead, in most climates this means a late summer or early fall pruning when temperatures begin moderating from summer peaks. The technique for this regenerative pruning is a bit different from your early season maintenance cuts. Cut all shoots and side branches back by approximately 6 inches, or just above the topmost remaining fruit. Remove any branches without fruit entirely, along with all new flowers and small peppers that won't have time to mature. This aggressive approach might feel counterintuitive, but you're actually forcing the plant to consolidate its resources into ripening existing fruit while, at the same time, triggering new vegetative growth that will support your second fruiting cycle. Common mistakes that hinder your plant's recovery include pruning too late when cold weather is imminent, cutting back so severely that insufficient foliage remains for photosynthesis, or conversely, being too timid and leaving too much non-productive growth that drains energy. Watch for these challenges. Wilting in the days immediately following pruning indicates you may have removed too much foliage relative to the root system, while slow regrowth suggests inadequate nutrition or water. Quick fixes include temporary shade cloth for stressed plants and a dose of compost tea to jumpstart both plant and soil biology. The dual benefits of this approach, increased yield and perpetually healthier garden soil, compound over seasons in ways that truly transform your entire growing system. Each cycle of strategic pruning, extended harvest and soil incorporation builds on the previous one. Your soil becomes richer, more biologically diverse, and more resilient against pests and diseases. Your pepper plants, whether grown as annuals or overwintered as perennials in warmer climates, produce more abundantly because they're rooted in increasingly fertile ground. This is where, honestly, experimentation becomes invaluable. Every garden has unique conditions of climate, soil type, and microbial populations. Try varying your pruning intensity, timing, and incorporation methods to discover what works best in your specific context. Document what you observe, from the speed of regrowth to the quality of your second harvest to changes in soil texture and plant vigor over seasons. Looking ahead, these principles extend far beyond peppers to nearly every garden plant. Tomatoes, eggplants, and many perennial herbs respond beautifully to strategic pruning for extended production. The soil building aspect applies universally. Any plant material returned to the soil feeds that underground ecosystem. By approaching pruning not as removal, but as strategic redirection of energy and eventual soil amendment, you're building year-round soil vitality that elevates everything you grow. So there you have it, gardeners, the complete system for doubling your pepper harvest while simultaneously building the kind of living soil that makes every crop better. If this information resonates with you, please subscribe to Smart Garden and hit that notification bell so you never miss our practical, research-backed growing techniques. Share this guide with your gardening friends who need bigger harvests and healthier soil. Drop a comment below about your experiences with pepper pruning or questions about adapting these techniques to your climate. Let's build a community of gardeners growing more food on more vibrant living soil. Until next time, keep growing smart.